sure to tell our sponsors you saw them on the 2024 season of the Airgun Geeks, GX Pumps, Donnie FL, High Pressure Pneumatics, Spa, Sabre Tactical, Embarks Airguns, and Scout Airguns are all proud sponsors of the Airgun Geeks for 2024.
How's it going?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. I'm just getting into my travel stride this winter. It has been an epic winter for getting around the world to cover our airgun world, and it has been it's been outstanding. And we have had some really hot videos in our combined YouTube channels, both the Target Forge YouTube channel and the Airgun Geeks. Airgun Geeks has just grown exponentially on YouTube, and I really want to take a moment and thank all of our viewers on YouTube for the Airgun Geeks channel. They have blown that up with subscriptions and views. It is just, it's trending growth that most people really pray for and don't get. And Pat, you're getting it in spades.
It's crazy. It's been a learning curve. You've been explaining this stuff to me. The joke around here is I'm a bit of a boomer. And I'm like, really? And I've been watching subscriptions.
That's actually my nickname for Pat now. I call him Boomer. And he almost looks like Boomer Esiason, so it kind of plays right off of that.
So would my initials be AGB, Airgun Boomer?
There you go.
Hey,
there you go.
Why not? Yeah, it's been interesting because just alone in the past couple of days, I've watched it go up like 10 new subscribers. I'm like, wow. All right. That's exciting. So
yeah, what's important there is your growth rate. The rate at which your growth is increasing is just crazy good. And that's a testament to the content that you're putting out on your channel. And I'm happy to be a part of it. It has been it's been a heck of a lot of fun. And we've got some things coming up that we'll find out about later in the podcast that are going to continue this growth in a way that is just crazy. And one other thing, Pat, I don't know if you've looked, but our demographics are expanding. This used to look like a field target match where it was a bunch of old men sitting around with air guns, and now we are Pat, there are actually females in our demographic now. It was so funny. I know. Well, hey, maybe I'm not going to exclude her.
Definitely not.
She might it might help her out. Who knows?
Hey.
But what's important is that our age range is opening up, and that's one thing that we need to do as people in the airgun world. Grab a kid, take them out, show them a real airgun, wrest that Crossman 760 from their hands. Not that they aren't great guns. They are great guns to learn on, but do expose them to the next level stuff. Get them a really good Springer and teach them how to master that demon, because as we've said 100 times on this channel, Pat, if you can master the Springer, Weed Hopper, you have mastered all firearms. They are notoriously challenging to shoot. It's not that they shoot poorly, it's that people shoot them poorly.
Most definitely, yes.
And if you learn the zen that is shooting a Springer, everything you put in your hand, you will shoot better. I don't care if it's a slingshot, a bow and arrow, a crossbow, a flintlock, it doesn't matter. You'll shoot them all better. So get a kid, take them out, expose them to the sport. It's how we're going to sustain and grow in the future. And if you don't think that we are actively being persecuted by the socials in this world, the YouTubes and the Facebooks and the Instagrams, they really are out to get us. It's not blanket paranoia. And just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they really aren't out to get you. But yeah, they are. They try to squelch what we talk about and where we try to help people out. I've been trying to come up with a way to finish up my my work on the Umarex Nodos.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done so much more development on that I haven't shared yet. And part of it is I have to make a choice. Do I want to make money off the content, which is important because this is how I pay my bills. This is what I do. If I put anything about a trigger in there or how to do a trigger, immediately they cut my money. They cut me right off at the knees.
Yep.
And I'm trying to show people how to do it correctly and safely, and how to do the 6-axis hammer test, because I got to tell you, Pat, I've seen guys on YouTube trying to show people how to do trigger jobs, and they are butchers and hacks. They don't properly show how to test the gun afterwards to make sure that it is fundamentally safe. And for those that don't know, a 6-axis hammer test is basically a rubber mallet, and you bump the gun in each one of the 6 axes, and you give it energy with the gun, with the trigger just sitting there, safety on and safety off. So you have to repeat all 6 axes with safety on and safety off to make sure that sear does not move. And that is a safe trigger. If you can't do that, you're too light and you need to back off. And
Correct.
that is a fundamental consequence of the geometry in the trigger. And if you've got an unsafe gun, please do yourself and everybody else a favor and go put a little bit more tension on that trigger. You give up that hair trigger and get your gun back to a safe place. Don't go for the 1.5 pounds if you can't pass the 6-axis hammer test and produce a safe gun. Because honestly, we've got enough problems with idiots giving our sport a bad name. The last thing we need is somebody with a negligent discharge on an air gun that takes out an eye or shoots somebody's dog in the butt, or one of Pat's giant iguanas behind him.
Oh yeah.
I mean, my boy Henson up here. I mean, he's got he's very leery of getting hit with pellets. So
Yeah, that's it's no good. No good.
and he's a big ass bird too. He will screw your world up if you mess with him. I mean, I'll tell you, I'm so thankful to Joe for letting me hold that bird.
Yes.
When we were at the Midwest Airgun Show. He is a freaking monster. And that's why
he has it, Bill. He's got bigger birds now.
Oh wow. I don't know.
Let's get Joe on and talk about what he does, because him alone is and where he's grown with his business in the Ohio School of Falconry is crazy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And I kudos to you, Pat, for landing 2 new sponsors since our last episode. This is really big. I mean, Umarex, my gosh, that is an enormous company. Hats off to them for the amazing guns they brought to the market space. Their videos have been blowing up on both of our YouTube channels. The Zelos is brand new. That video just debuted recently, and it's trending very well. And Pat, you can't please everybody all of the time, but I got to say, Umarex goes out of their way to bring service and warranty to their product. You can talk about rebranding all you want, but the bottom line is Umarex stands behind the products they bring to market, and they do a great job representing them and standing by them and servicing them. So kudos to Umarex for everything that they do and for jumping into the sponsorship pot with us for 2024. I'm really thankful to everybody over at Umarex for joining and supporting the podcast and bringing this content to all of our viewers, even the ones who are maybe a little too critical of what Umarex decides to put their name on. But Pat, as you and I have discussed, automotive manufacturers have been rebranding product from each other for years. I mean, since the dawn of the automotive industry, there have been people that rebrand and use that as a way to service the market. And the airgun world is no different.
But there's a difference there, Bill. Though it has to do with the quality control and quality standards.
Yes,
that
you're
Umarex
absolutely
has.
You're absolutely
you might have seen it. Like a lot of people know that the Notos is the old P700. So, but the quality and standards that Umarex set for the Notos is far superior than what the original platform was. They've improved it. It's a generation 12 now. And that's where some people are like, oh, this fits. Hey, it's great that fits the P700 mags fit, because now we have a surplus of aftermarkets and options and all sorts of stuff that, you and I have done to the gun, that it makes it endless and you can customize it. So they give you a base, we'll call it a base model, and then you get to accessorize it. I tell people it's a lot like buying a Jeep. You buy a base Jeep and you grow from there. But the quality of the base and the customer support that Umarex offers is superior.
I agree.
And of course you got Aiden Hansen. We can't forget him, and he just has so much fun. And like he said in the video with the Zellos, he is there to break it.
Yep.
And try and make it durable so that you can just throw it in the back of the truck, grab it, shoot some iguanas. Sorry, Bob and Helen, didn't mean to say that. And get rid of them and it be accurate and dependable. Like I was shooting my Notos today. It don't miss. So, that's for some people, and they come in at a great dollar.
That's just it. They're servicing a part of the airgun market that we get. Whenever you and I get into the weeds with the higher end air guns, the guns that are in the $2,000 to $4,000 price range, we get hammered. You're like, oh, why don't you guys talk about guns we can all afford? Well, we do try to cover the whole spectrum, and Umarex does a fantastic job of servicing that lower end to middle market with guns that are reliable, serviceable, and a heck of a lot of fun to work on. I mean, my gosh, look how successful the Notos has been.
Correct.
And I don't think the Zellos is going to be any different. I know I'm already planning what I'm going to do with mine. And
I'm like a kid on Christmas waiting for Christmas to come.
Yep.
I can't wait, because you and I have two different personalities, but you have all the lathes, so I don't know who's winning that. But it's amazing what people are already thinking of doing with theirs, and they're not even out yet. So it's exciting. It's exciting. I really can't wait.
Yep.
That'll be a whole other series, Bill.
I know it. And I'm up for it. I'm game. This episode is partially titled The Wandering Geek. And that's been my role this winter, Pat.
Yep.
And I know you wanted to take a minute and talk about where I've been and what I've been doing this winter. And honestly, I've been trying to get the heck out of California because it's been raining like crazy here. Mudslides and floods and washed out roads and all of that stuff. It's like feast or famine here. You're either in a drought or it's pouring down buckets and roads are washing away, or everything's on fire and the earth is shaking. I don't understand why we pay a premium to live here with just everything trying to kill us. But anyway, I think the travel this year has been an escape for me to get away from all of this nonsense, not to mention the silliness of our legal system. Pat, do you know that I was getting ready to do some video work, and I needed some denatured alcohol, right? And you figure denatured alcohol is about as simple as it gets. I went to the hardware store to buy it, and they're like, "Oh, it's been outlawed for 2 years." And I'm looking at the kid, and I'm like, I'm in disbelief. I'm like, how can you make denatured alcohol illegal? And he's like, "Oh, 2 years ago, the California Air Resource Board decided that denatured alcohol wasn't safe enough for us." And I'm thinking, I'm scratching my head in the store, and I'm like, wait a minute. I go to any gas pump all across California, and every fuel I can put in my car has denatured alcohol in it. And you're telling me I can't buy it at the hardware store to use it as a legitimate solvent or fuel, but yet it's right next to the acetone and the MEK? What in who hires these people
I have
to
no idea.
do our laws in California? Where are they coming from? But anyway, that also contributes to my escapism and my travel. But it's been a long traveled road, and I'm not done yet.
Oh no. And I think you've done thousands of miles.
I think
So,
we're in the tens of thousands.
okay, we'll go that far. Yes. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
probably better. Yeah. With the one place, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But the first place you went, as an Ohioan, a former Ohioan, I was a little taken back. But you went to Michigan, right?
Detroit, actually, Livonia.
Nonetheless.
Yeah.
Oh my God, home of Michigan State. Oh my God, no offense, but go Buckeyes. So what'd you do in Michigan? Who's in Michigan?
So I went there, Pat, at the invitation of the one and only David Ding. He invited me to go to Leapers.
Leapers.
Yeah, Leapers. Leapers, most people don't know of them by that brand, but they will immediately recognize UTG.
Yes.
UTG is their line of products that are principally imported, mainly from China. And UTG Pro, all of those products are manufactured in one of the most state-of-the-art manufacturing facilities I've ever been in. And Pat, I was in not only Boeing, I worked at the Boeing facility for some time on the 787 Dreamliner. So I got to see a lot of world-class manufacturing as an extension of that. But I also worked for one of the tier one companies in the aerospace world that supplies to Boeing. And they're no joke either. I mean, their content is in military and NASA equipment and all kinds of stuff. I'm telling you, I have been in some of the finest CNC machining systems in the world. And David is right up there, or maybe better than them. And that's what he's doing in Michigan, is making the UTG Pro product, which, for those that don't know, UTG Pro makes some of the nicest, most solid rings you'll ever see. Their design is unique. It is their own, and it is incredible. They have a bipod, which is also outstanding and superiorly machined. It is incredibly well made. And they have a patent on their extension for the legs, which is really cool. But that's UTG Pro. And then you've got all of the optics. That's what actually started that whole company.
Yep.
David immigrated into the United States, I think in the early 80s. That interview will be coming out on both of our channels shortly. I took the opportunity to interview him and his lovely daughter, Margaret Ding, who is absolutely she's David's knight, I think. We hear the story of the king who sends his eldest child out into the wild to learn how to defend themselves and survive, and then brings them back to eventually take over the kingdom. And that's really where I see Margaret falling into all of this. She is outstanding. She's becoming a tremendous marksman as well, or markswoman, as the case may be. Um, she's actually going down the field target world. So watch out, guys. She's coming for you. She's going to take your lunch money. And
Yeah.
and I got to see a lot of the new Integrix products that are coming out.
Mhm.
They're actually starting to come out into the market now, and they are outstanding, crazy good pieces of glass. So that was my trip to Michigan, was spending some time with David and seeing what he's got going on. They not only are expanding their design in the optic world, they have a state of the art optical design center in Taiwan. So they're doing all of their own design work, and the manufacturing systems that are in Michigan that are getting built up for the Integrix line are just insanely good.
Wow.
But they're also expanding their testing. I got to shoot in one of the most state of the art indoor ranges. It's a 100-yard indoor range at UTG. And I got to visit the farm. And I got some crazy drone footage of the farm. It is going to be host to a 600-yard outdoor rifle range, private,
Wow.
completely owned by UTG and
Uh-huh.
used for development of this Integrix product line. So they're not only designing it and making it, they're actually putting in the hours and the investment in testing it and making it absolutely outstanding. So that was my trip to Livonia, Michigan. And if anybody wants to know, if you go on my channel, on the Target Forge channel,
Mhm.
you'll see a video that I shot. Actually, I think you might have to be a member of my channel to see it, but it is shot on a walk that I took from a house they call the bunker, which is where they put you up if you go to visit Leapers, which is, I'll tell you what, they can put me up there anytime. It's very nice. But
Yeah.
it's about a 15-minute walk away from a landmark in Livonia called the Yacht Club. And I'm not going to say anything more about it. If you've ever been to the Yacht Club, send me a little winky emoji, uh, so that I know that you know what I'm talking about. Because if you know it, you know it. You know
Mhm.
exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, I got to walk over there in a snow squall, and everybody thought I was crazy because I was wearing sandals. I'm like, it doesn't bother me. I'm from Connecticut. I've done winter.
Mhm.
This this isn't the end of the world. But it was a heck of a lot of fun. Um, yeah, so that was pretty much my adventure in Michigan, and um, from Michigan, I flew to South Carolina, and originally, um, I was just going to go see my sister for the holidays for Christmas, and I ended up getting attacked by bears.
That's what I hear. Something about a bear with arms, and I, I I don't know what you were talking about, and I don't know. I thought it was something, you ran into, you went hunting and you didn't tell me about it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then
No, it
you're like,
was
oh no, I'll ensure you it's a good
it was
conversation.
yeah, it was the guys from Right to Bear. They reached out and said, "Hey,
Yep.
would you be interested in repping our brand?" And I said, "Absolutely, I would." And one thing I'd like to clarify, that we actually covered that in depth in our previous episode.
Mhm.
And the link that I put on the screen is actually not the right link for us to get credit. So please, if you're interested in Right to Bear Insurance, do use the link from the video description or from the podcast notes that Pat puts up with the audio version. Use that link instead, because that gives us credit for the purchase should you decide to, and do absolutely use um, our banner to get your 10% off, because, it's a great way to get coverage that will
Mhm.
save you a lot of heartache down the road and get 10% off in the process.
Correct.
But enough about that. I got to spend a lovely holiday with my sister in South Carolina. And then it was back to California
Yep.
to literally unpack, do my laundry,
Yep.
repack, and then I was on a seriously long flight.
Very long.
Very long.
Very long. Yeah, like the other side of the world
Yes.
kind of long. I was like,
Yes.
"Where are you going?" Yeah, you're
Yep.
like, I go, "You might need to learn a new language."
Well, what was really funny, when I landed in China, I was very, very fortunate that the people that I was there to visit with are the people behind GX compressors.
Oh.
And yeah, and they invited me over to see their facilities and talk with them about things that might impact the future of compressors for the American market. We're still discussing a lot of that stuff, but I had an amazing trip over there, sharing a lot of my engineering expertise that I've accrued over many years, and also listening to them and the really cool ideas they've got going on. And Pat, I got to tell you, there is a absolutely trick change coming to the CS2, their most basic little compressor, that I just thought it was so clever, and really answers some problems that, not really problems, but conditions that other users have highlighted. And they came up with a very clever solution to it that actually dramatically, to me, increases the usability and the longevity of that product. And I'll be sharing that coming up on the Target Forge channel. And if you want early access to that video content, the best way to do that is to join the channel. If you join the channel, you're going to get advanced viewing of my content. You'll get to see it before anybody else does. And you'll have the story. You'll have the delo on what's new and what's going on in my airgun corner. And there's some really neat stuff coming from GX that I got to see while I was there. And I got to tour their facility as well. And, there was somebody spouting off in the comments on an older video that I had done. And he was saying, "Oh, well, I bet they got dirt floors." I'm like, dude, stand up straight. Your knuckles are dragging the ground. You sound like an idiot. Their manufacturing facility is world class. It's a 4-story enormous building in Nantong, China, in the industrial sector. And it is full of world-class CNC equipment. As far as I'm concerned, the Chinese portable air compressors got a really bad name early on. Those things were analogous to grenades in some cases, where they would air up your gun 3 or 4 times, and then the 5th or 6th time they either wouldn't work or they would make terrible noises and die a horrible death. But I did a meta study of the online world before I started down the GX journey, I guess. And I found them, and I started talking about them, and I started talking to people who had really positive experiences with them. And now they're a sponsor of this podcast as well, is, that blows my mind.
Yeah, I know, right?
And, GX treated me like an absolute rock star when I was in China. They really put out the red carpet for me They were there for me every step of the way. If you think it's easy to travel in China, being a native English speaker with no visual or audio skills in Chinese at all, it's me. It's not. You know, I can go to Europe, I can go to Sweden, I can go to Germany, I can go to Spain. I can exist there. I can piece together contextually enough out of the words that I see to make sense of where I am and what I need to do. That is just simply not the case in China. I might as well be blind and deaf over there. I might as well be Tommy from the Who song, right? Who played pinball, which we'll get to later.
Yeah.
But the important thing is I had, you know, I had this family that embraced me and allowed me to enjoy Nantong with them. And it was an amazing experience. A lot of people don't know this, but Nantong is a very, very old city. I mean, when we talk about old in the US, right, we're really proud. We're like, oh, yeah, this was here during the Revolutionary War. It's 200 plus years old. China's like, here, hold my beer. I got this. Yeah, this place, this tea garden has been here for 1,000 years. It's relatively new. You know, you get that kind of a feeling in China where, you know, their depth of their history as a culture is so much deeper. And, you know, I got to see the old city of Nantong. And, you know, I'm not going to say it was all unicorns and rainbows, because China is dealing with their own growing pains from their own growth. And the you know, things like the air quality and stuff like that are definitely things that they're going to have to wrestle with, like we did, you know, with LA in the late 50s. I mean, people were getting really sick in LA here in the US during that time period. And it wasn't until we woke up and we realized that, hey, you know what? We need to change some of this stuff. And now we've gotten to the point where we think it's wise to outlaw things like denatured alcohol. But anyway,
Yeah.
it's you know, Nantong was beautiful. They took me on this scenic boat tour. The original city of Nantong was defended by a moat. It literally sat in the middle of a river, and it was a walled city. So, you know, you're waiting for some guy to row his boat over to you. You've got all the time in the world to put 100 arrows in that guy before he gets to your walled city. So it was very defensible city. But there are 7 bridges, 7 classic bridges that go into the old area of Nantong, and all of them are lighted with crazy, just absolutely crazy LED light shows. It was both beautiful, striking, and in some respects kind of shocking. And the reason I say shocking is because the sheer volume of light pollution that I experienced in, you know, from the perspective of the wildlife in that area. Pat, they had entire forests of trees color keyed. So the trees would change. Yes, the trees would change color as you puttered by on the river on your boat. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, that's 800 yards away from where I'm sitting, and the light is very bright and very vivid. And I know enough about radiated energy to know that the light required at the source is got to be ridiculously bright to show that well to me. What do these poor animals do trying to exist in that environment with that much light poison, or that much light pollution? Light poison, I guess, is also.
I guess it'd be the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Turn the light off. I'm trying to sleep.
Exactly. You think blue lights are bad, keeping you up with your little screen on your phone?
Wow.
Yeah, China takes that up and turns it way past 11, man. It can get really bright. It's beautiful. It's spectacular. Um, it is quite an interesting place to visit. I'm looking forward to my next journey there. I'm going to go in much wiser. Here's travel tip number one. When you go to China, don't rely on anything from Google.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
Google.
Google apparently is on the no-no list with the Chinese government, and they call it the Great Firewall of China. It's a government level firewall that any traffic going in and out of China gets blocked if it's going to anything Google.
Oh wow.
So it's very challenging for them to get Google content or Google services, which if you've ever used the Google Translator app on their phone, it's remarkably good. But it doesn't work if you can't get to the mothership.
Correct.
And you're not going to get to the Google mothership while you're in China. Now there are some things you can do with VPNs and things like that. You can be a micro hacker, with your phone and sitting there doing your tricks to try and get around it. But honestly, it doesn't end up working out that well. And if you have an iPhone, you're great. They love those over there. In fact, I would say probably 80 to 90% of commerce in China happens on Apple-like phones over there.
I
And
don't know why that doesn't shock me, Bill.
yeah, who knew, right?
That's
Um,
crazy.
you talk about rebranding things, and
Yeah.
there's only so many companies that make world-class phones, and a lot of them are contract manufacturers and make phones for a lot of people. But anyway, that area of China was remarkable for me to have had the opportunity to visit. And again, my thanks to the family, the Gaos behind GX for having me there, and also continuing our relationship, which we'll see it cross over again later in my travels.
Now, didn't you grab your stick and bag and go traveling through China to some other cities?
I did, and it was kind of funny because I had two lovely ladies. The first one was Yolanda in Nantong. She took such great care of me, and then she kind of handed me off to a young lady named Summer, and that was in Taizhou. So I took a train. I
Okay.
took a train. I really wanted to experience the trains in China, and they're actually getting ready to shepherd in their latest incarnation of high speed trains, and those things are hitting, like, I don't know, over 500 miles an hour.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
they're hitting like airplane speeds with the new high speed trains.
You could
But
fly as fast as a pellet.
even the old trains that I was on, Pat,
Wow.
what blew my mind, and I've traveled, I love trains. All right. I've loved trains since I was a kid. And I got cured of trying to travel by trains by America's interpretation of what train travel has become. And that's Amtrak. I had absolutely the worst experience ever taking right after 9/11. I was on a business meeting, and we had to be in Miami for a meeting that was really make or break for the company. We had to be there. And it was right after 9/11. All the flights were grounded. You weren't going to get a flight there. All of our flights were canceled. We could not get off the ground. So we said, well, the trains are still running. Let's take the train. That was the worst 24-hour trip I think I've ever had. You're on this diesel locomotive and you go through a tunnel, and the thick black diesel smoke just pours back into the cars.
Oh,
It was awful. And it was uncomfortable, rocked back and forth, terrible tracks, terrible services, terrible food. It was not a fun time. And here I'm on this Chinese train, which is meant for common people. This was not a luxury train. Pat, it was so smooth. You could have set a nickel on edge on the table in that car and it would have stayed there. That's how smooth this train was. It felt like it was magnetically levitated. I looked, there were metal wheels. I don't know what they do, what kind of voodoo is in those, what kind of isolation is happening between those trucks on the train and the car, but it was crazy smooth. And I got to go through some beautiful mountainous areas, through some of the tea plantations and stuff. And it was truly remarkable to see China from that perspective. They do wrestle with their pollution. There's no, I'm not going to pull any punches there. The average person in China will not really talk about it. I think they're encouraged not to talk about it. But you can see it'll be 10 o'clock in the morning. There's not a cloud in the sky, and the sun is just a small, very, very dark orange disc in the sky. You can stare right at it. But that being said, I had a great time. I spent a one day in Taizhou, and that was where I kind of said, you know what? I'm feeling kind of frisky, Pat. I'm ready to experience China on my own terms. I'm going to go off on my own. So I got another train, and I took that train from Taizhou to Shenzhen because I had some friends that went to the electronics markets in Shenzhen, which, if you think it's like a flea market, you have no idea what you're comparing to this to. And I don't know of anything I could tell you that would prepare you for it, because it literally is like a 70-story building, huge high rise, that is just floor after floor after floor of not only electronics components from every manufacturer on the planet, but also fully assembled electronics. I was, thankfully, because my translator on my phone was completely useless, and now I'm on my own in the wild in China, in Shenzhen, and I was able to buy an artificially intelligent translator that could do voice in and out, picture, photograph. I could take a picture of a sign and it would show me in English or 20 other languages of my choice, with no connection to the internet, no connection at all. It could do all of those translations for me.
Wow.
And that was a godsend to me, because otherwise I don't know how I would have gotten out of there, to be honest with you. I mean, a lot of the people at the hotels really tried to understand what I was saying, but one of the people that I talked to before I went to China said, "Oh, of course they're Chinese. They're trying to get me to go to China." And they're like, "Oh, don't worry about it. Nearly everybody in China speaks English. You'll have no problem here." The reality is, no one in China hardly speaks English at all. I mean, it is, you get that look like somebody who is speaking Chinese to an American. I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're saying. And through the magic of Shenzhen and the electronic markets, I think I paid $35 for that freaking lump of electronics, but it got me back. It got me a flight from Shenzhen up to Shanghai, and then I got back to U.S. soil. I came in through Seattle, and that was the end of my odyssey in China. At least that trip.
Wow.
Yeah. And, I got home, I unpacked,
Rinse and repeat.
I dumped all the data off of my laptop, off my cameras, off of all of that stuff. And I said, all right, Pat says I got to go to the SHOT Show. I'm going to the SHOT Show. And what an amazing experience that was for me. The last time I was at the SHOT Show, I had a friend in the firearms world who got me a ticket under his company's name and let me see it, for the first time. And I'm very thankful to Phil for having gotten me that access. But this time, Pat, I got to go there as a fully fledged airgun geek. And what's unique about that is I was there because we are also recognized by the Outdoor Writers Association of America. I am now officially a member of that organization, and that got us into shot as media. And it was outstanding to be able to, first of all, have access to the media amenities, which are world class. I mean, absolutely first rate. You can get into that room early in the morning. You can get set up. You can get your plan of attack ready for the day, because if you've never been to shot, it's on a level that I don't know what could prepare you for that either, because it is
40K marathon.
It is ridiculous. And if you don't have a good plan and you're walking back and forth from place to place, kind of ping ponging around like I was, because I suck at planning, it exhausted me. By the time I got home from that, my knee was absolutely blown out. It was good though. It was good pain. It was, it was worth the price of admission to have gone through that. But SHOT Show was everything I wanted it to be. And it was an opportunity to get to see and interact with so many in our airgun world. Again, that trip was a large part of our relationship with Humrex. It was a large part of our relationship with Scout. We got to see some content from Pyramid, from Air Venturi, and it really kind of recharged me for the 2024 season, spending some time with Joe and talking about the new pellets from Predator and the new slugs from Predator and all of that stuff. Just kind of really revitalized me. And
you got to meet an old air gunner there, the urban air gunner.
Oh, I did. And that interview is going to come up in our next episode, maybe. If it's not the next one, it'll be the one after that. But Rick, the urban air gunner, and I got to sit and chat for a while. And I got to say, and that guy he's an amazing guy. I am so fortunate to have been able to capture his story and bring it to the rest of our airgun friends, and also let everybody know that Rick is back in the game. He's coming back to the airgun world. And Pat, I got to meet somebody else at SHOT Show. Can you guess who?
Ballistol?
Yes. Ballistol.
Yeah.
The number one service chemical for air guns, endorsed by the godfather of air guns, Tom Gaylord. And, I told them, I said, hey, would you guys be interested in supporting the channel? And they're like, oh boy, would we? We would love to. They were very forward leaning in wanting to help our fellow airgun geeks out. So Pat, tell them what we're going to do for them from Ballistol for this episode.
So here's what we're going to do. And this is very exciting to be able to do this. I just have to say that to everyone. So
I agree.
We are going to, if you would, raffle off 5 kits.
5
wow. Kits from Ballistol.
They're like Ballistol care kits?
Ballistol cleaning kits. Yes. They're going to give you all the solvents and whatnot that you can think of. What you'll need to do, here's the requirements.
Which, to be clear, is really just Ballistol.
Just Ballistol.
Packaged differently.
Yeah. You're going to get a nice assortment of Ballistol products. Yeah.
Yep.
So what you'll need to do is you'll need to email the airgungeeks@gmail.com. That's
Hang on. Let me get that
airgungeeks@gmail.com.
ready, Pat. Let me
Ooh. I keep forgetting we have all of this new technology with
we
StreamYard.
do. We've got like crazy stuff. Look at that.
Look at that.
Yeah.
So those watching the YouTube channels can see it, but those listening to the podcast, it's at airgungeeks@gmail.com. Pat is a boomer. Yes, I'm learning all of this fun technology.
Sorry.
Put in the subject line.
I clipped that inadvertently, Pat, and really
It's okay. Things happen, technology is great when it works. So in the subject line, when you email, it's going to be Bonnie who's going to see it. Just put Ballastall in the subject line, and we're going to need your name and your full address. And then what we're going to do is we're going to let this run all the way to the end of March. And in April, when everyone does their spring cleaning of their air guns,
ooh.
we will raffle off those 5 kits, and it'll be on video. We'll put your name on a ticket, stick it in an ammo can, swoosh it all around, and we'll leave the surprise of who's going to be pulling the tickets for that video for everyone to see. And then you'll be notified, hey, you got it, and we'll read the names off, and it will be very, very exciting because I
Yes.
love Ballastall. I've been using it for years on everything.
And Ballastall will be shipping these kits directly
Yep.
from their facility.
There'll be direct shipping from Ballastall.
We
Correct.
need to make sure that we have a good address. And I
Good address.
see this so many times, Pat, when I get orders into Target Forge where, somebody's fat fingered their address and then I'm left trying to reach them and my emails go to their spam folder and I can't reach them to correct
Yep.
their address. So please, 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 for the love of Bob and Helen behind Patrick, the giant iguanas, make sure that your address is clear and legible and accurate. If you need to check it with the Google box to make sure it's a valid mailing address, do double check it, and make sure you get us that, and make sure that Ballastall is in the subject so that we know that you're interested.
Because what you're also going to get is you're going to get some Airgun Geek stickers.
Ooh.
So not only will Ballastall have your address, we will too. So that's what's going on currently right now.
And Pat, while we're on that topic, one of the things that we're looking to build as we go forward with the Airgun Geeks is we want to build a really, really connected community.
Mm-hmm.
And we want that community to have a newsletter that, follows what we're looking at, that doesn't necessarily come across the podcast channel, but that our viewers might want to know about. So when you submit something to our email, we're going to add you to that list, unless you say, hey guys, you know what? If you add me to that email list, I will hunt you down. We don't want any trouble. We know a lot of you guys are quite capable hunters, but we do want to include as many people as we can to be able to share what's going on in the world of Airgun Geeks going forward. And we do intend on coming out with a newsletter here shortly. And Pat, I think you touched on this a little bit. You said Bonnie has been working on our new website.
Correct.
Will be debuting hopefully soonish.
It'll be very soonish. But as a lot of people may know or may not know, there's going to be like a 2 weeks she's going to be down because she's going in for reconstructive surgery from her breast cancer. So things are going to get all taken care of, and I get to be, Mr. Nurse for a little bit. But she's excited, and prayers are always welcome if you don't mind. But that'd be the 23rd of February for those listening of 2024 here. So she's excited. That's what matters, and we'll get through it and have an awesome time. But the website looks really, really cool, and we're gonna have, like Bill said, we're gonna have like a news area for the newsletter. Yep. We're gonna have, you'll be able to see like the first 3 podcasts, the last 3 podcasts that were broadcasted. It'd be easier to get connected to the social medias. all types of fun stuff. And what everyone's been asking for is merch. So
Yes.
we'll have all sorts of stuff. So email us what types of merch you would like to see. Cups, T-shirts, custom air guns. Maybe we can get some sponsors to do custom air guns. I'm just playing.
Hoodies with 3 arms.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, hoodies with 3 arms. You kill me. But yeah, it's going to be like
in case you're in Chernobyl and you get cold,
yeah. There
and
you go.
you've grown a 3rd arm because you're irradiated. It could come in handy.
Yeah. And one thing, that you and I, Bill, have been talking about is, competitions that are going on around the country. There's been like last weekend, there was a competition. I think it was in Closton, Florida, just south of Okeechobee Lake. Down here in Florida, there was one before that up at Ken's place at Spall Weapons up in Leesburg area. There's one coming up this weekend. It's in Georgia. And then you got Northeast airgun competition coming up, and then all the other ones. So we're trying to get it in one area so everyone
That's
can see
great.
what's going on.
So people who are planning airgun events should probably reach out using the email on your screen right now and say, "Hey,
Right now, yeah.
Pat, we've got an event coming up in 2 weeks, and here's the date and here's the times, and absolutely no turtles with sandals on allowed. Let us know if there's any crazy rules or anything that we need to post for the benefit of potential attendees, because we want that to be a place where people can go and say, hey, what's going on in the airgun world right now in my area? And we'll have that structured so that they can quickly zoom into an area or an event and find that information.
Yeah, Bonnie's working on some pretty interesting technology when it comes to organizing all of that to where it's user friendly and it's not so much work on our end, but people can upload stuff and a calendar and whatnot. So
The single best thing Bonnie could do to make that really awesome?
What's that?
Keep Boomer away from it.
Most definitely. Yeah. I need to not be near it. I just need to be in front of people. So
Pat, you're the person who brought this whole podcast into being. I'm just messing with you.
It's all good, but we're getting more technical, and I have to say that the videos and how they're laid out and how they're done, they wouldn't be done by me. So that's definitely kudos to you, Bill. You do a great job keeping that together, and getting even the shorts were great. Inspired by PJ Clark last year at SHOT Show, and how he threw them out was amazing too. But yeah, very, very interesting.
Yeah, that was literally me sitting, by the time I would get home from SHOT, I had to drive to Henderson, Nevada. That's where I stayed while I was in Vegas. And I would literally be up until 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, editing and uploading and getting that content up, and then go to sleep, get up and repeat. And that was my life for 4 days of SHOT. Yeah. And so, that brings us to near the end of my odyssey in Vegas.
Yep.
And on the last day, I said, you know what, Pat, I'm done. I'm done doing airgun stuff. I want to goof off for a while. And I went to the Pinball Hall of Fame, which, if you're in Vegas and you get some time, there are 2 things, actually 3 things I think everybody needs to see in Vegas. And none of them are casinos, because they just want your money. They're cool places. Don't get me wrong. I love the opulence, but the Pinball Hall of Fame is absolutely one of the best investments you can have in Las Vegas. $15 worth of quarters in that environment, and you are happy for a very long time. And you will see such a spectrum of the history of arcade games in that environment. It's incredible. Now, I will say, walking into that, there was a big crowd looking at the airport, which it sits right on the edge of the tarmac. What I thought was Sleepy Creepy Joe landing Air Force One. It was actually the lesser Air Force aircraft for the vice president. So it was the cackling lady coming to see landing in Las Vegas. and I got to see her plane land and taxi and unload. And after that, Pat, I was done. I needed to head back, and actually, it's where I took this photo. That is my new background for 2024. This is the Mojave Desert, and I believe in the last episode I incorrectly said, and I'll blame this on my having had a stroke, but this tree right here I said was a ponderosa pine. It most definitely is not a ponderosa pine. It's a Joshua tree. Um, Obviously, it was, well, not obvious, but it was noted by a Mormon missionary in that area that it looked like Joshua with his fingers raised to God, and that's where the term Joshua tree came from. But I got to exploring that in my old Toyota pickup, and I had a ball. I got to drive up some old washes and down some fire roads and basically get lost in the desert. And I got some crazy drone footage there too. But while I was at SHOT, Pat, guess where I got invited to go?
Where'd you get invited to go now? Where are we going now?
The next stop on the Odyssey for this wandering geek is Iwa in Germany.
To the other side of the pond.
Yes. Yes. Wow. I have always wanted to see Iwa. I've always jonesed for seeing that footage from Giles and all of the guys who get to go to Iwa. And I'm like, wow, man, I'd love to go there one day. Well, while I was at SHOT, GX, the compressor company, asked me if I would be interested in going to Iwa and manning their booth at least part of the time while I'm there. And I said, absolutely, I would be honored to do that. And yeah, they helped make this happen. You know, they're not funding my trip completely, but they're taking a considerable burden out of it for me, and I genuinely appreciate that opportunity. And you know, Pat, to be able to interview the people that we'll only be able to see in Europe, that are so central to this airgun world that we all know and love, I am delighted and honored to be able to serve our viewers and our listeners in that capacity. So I hope to come home with just gigabytes of interviews and footage and things that I thought were really notable in the airgun world at Iwa. So that is the next odyssey for this geek.
That's exciting. And this has been a remarkable year. And then you throw Iowa in there. It's just wow.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
So well, couple things that I'm going to be asking our listeners, especially those that listen on Apple Podcast.
Oh yeah.
Yes, there are, Bill. That's our number one platform that's listened on is Apple Podcasts. And you know what's one thing that we have not, and I'll admit I dropped the ball on, is not all platforms like Spotify and stuff can you give ratings. Well, Apple Podcast has a phenomenal thing. One, you can read the description of what the podcast is about. So all of the links and affiliate links and stuff that we do, but you can also rate the podcast and give it 5 stars. So Bill and I are asking all of the listeners on especially Apple Podcasts, and anytime you can rate.
We know who you are, viewers, listeners.
Yeah.
We know, we can see.
Yeah. We know what city is number 1. Do you know what city is number 1, Bill? For 2023?
Gosh, city or state?
Well, we'll go with state first. What state?
My gosh, who has the most? Oh man, I'm going to say Texas.
It's Texas.
Oh, I got it.
Texas, yes.
I didn't cheat. He didn't tell me.
No. Yeah. Go big or go home, right? That's what Texas says, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And from what I can remember, because it was a tie between Houston and Dallas.
Oh, wow.
The cool part is Buzzsprout separates each city. And they go over each country. And we have honestly, for 2 years now, out of the 3 years we've been around, We're on every continent,
Wow.
everyone, including China. Now it's 0.01%, but nonetheless, we
I
still
think
made
I
it.
might know who that is.
Yeah. so it's pretty exciting to see the demographics and the locations, the cities, and all of that. And where I'm really excited is being able to go to the other side of the pond. So I'm going to admit I'm a little jealous, Bill, that you get to go over there without me this year, but definitely next year.
You know,
It's on the
here,
bucket list.
you could come with me.
I got to take care of Bonnie. That's the unfortunate thing, because
I always share my room with you, Pat.
I know you would. I know, but duty calls. I got to take care
I
of
hear
the
you. I hear you. I hear you.
the quiet one in our group. Um, so next year, everyone will get to see my faces, and I'll get to shake your hands. But just the fact that we got invited by GX, and GX is sponsoring us, and then gives us the opportunity to meet with good friends of ours that we've met. Chris Roberts over at Air Max. He's the English distributor, if I remember right. Chock full of information. And then
And
you get
Lee, our friend Lee, who is just on
yes,
the cover of
Lee
the Airgun
Perry.
Hobbyist.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
He's going to be at the Pulsar booth, which you'll get to learn all about Pulsar and what Lee's been up to, and all the new stuff. I hear there's some interesting stuff going on with Air Max right now. They've come leaps and bounds since last year, just 1 year. It's amazing, the technology and engineering, and they listen. They listen to the air gunners,
Yeah.
which is vital, you know. And I'm also going to say this is where I'm really jealous, but you're going to get to be face to face in Europe, Germany with FX and find out what type of new things is coming out with them. What's it look like FX wise on the European side? Because all we get to see is the American side. What type of stuff does FX really do for the Europeans? The sub 12 market. Because if I remember right, the Royale is pretty much a top rated gun for Europe,
Mm-hmm.
and it's extremely simplistic and stupid accurate also. So it'd be interesting to see what you pull out of FX air guns when you go over there, and yeah, it's exciting times, you
It
know.
is. It is indeed.
So, well, do you have any final words for anyone, Bill?
I just want to say, we're not trees. Get out and explore the world. It gives you the vocabulary to really tell the story that is your life. And it is the way to adopt the vernacular that allows you to really see and experience the world around you in a whole new way. So do get out and travel and see everything you can see before you end up in the dirt, because then it's all over and you won't be able to do that anymore. So do spend some time traveling abroad. Don't buy into the fear. Don't buy into the fear mongers that try to get us to acquiesce to their supremacy, and just get out there and see what you can, and enjoy this world for what it is.
Correct. Yeah. And if you see Bill and I out and about in the wild, come on up, say hi.
Oh, hell yes.
That's always exciting. We're like, you listen, that's great. And don't be afraid to send us emails on things that you like, don't like, the new platform, things you'd like for us to talk about. We're pretty structured this year, which is exciting for both of us, because we want to make sure that we get you guys the best content possible.
Absolutely.
And definitely, if you see us at the competitions, come up to us. We would love to talk to you. Oh yeah, don't forget to vote. This is oh, this is a fun side thing that we talk about behind the scenes. So Bill's the favorite one last year. We got to change that.
Well, and it is shifting. I would say if we were to restart in 2024, Pat, I think you're actually either tied or in the lead.
Okay.
So you're doing quite well this year, much better than last year.
I
You,
appreciate that.
you might have got swamped a little bit last year. So
Yeah, but you know what?
we're gonna restart this for 2024. We're gonna keep a new tally, and right now I think you're doing pretty well. And if you don't want to vote for me, then you can of course vote for me, or you could vote for me, or or you could vote for Bonnie. You can vote for Bonnie instead. You can say, "Hey, Bonnie, I think you're the thing that makes all of this work, and we appreciate all your hard work." And you send your address to airgungeeks@gmail.com and put "We love Bonnie" or give me a sticker, and that'll be considered a vote for Bonnie. And Pat, I can't get this other button to work. It just doesn't. Something wrong here. I don't understand.
Technology.
There it is. Oh, it's that little text down across the bottom. You see it?
Oh, well, you know what? At least it came up.
Let me get my glasses on. See if I can. Okay, that's better. Yeah, vote for Pat. Yeah, you can certainly do that. I'm kidding. Here's Pat on the big banner.
The big banner.
Yeah, give Pat some love. I know one guy that voted for him. He said, "Hey, I had to rep my Ohio boy." He's still stuck in. I mean, still lives in Ohio.
Yeah, he is still stuck there.
And he was kind enough to send Pat a vote. So do send us your votes, and we hope to incorporate everybody into a great big old ball of email addresses that we promise we won't spam you. But we do want to share what we think you guys will appreciate seeing, and you can unsubscribe at any time. There's no commitment necessary here, and you get a cool sticker out of it. So and you get to vote. Your voice gets to be heard. This may be the one vote that actually matters in this country.
I agree.
Oh, sorry.
We'll
I know
leave that alone.
That's a nerve right there.
All right. Well, with that being said, like always, stay geeky.
Fantastic.
Shutterstock Music.